And the question before you, Doug, is 2020 a make or break season for former number 1 overall pick Baker Mayfield, the Browns quarterback, his 3rd season as an NFL quarterback?
Nope, because he's back for year 4 no matter what he does. And you still have a full year in year 4 to evaluate what he's going to do. Boom, out.
Yeah, I disagree with you. And here's where my thought process is. They've put everything around him to be successful. They've given him the tackles, one of the best tackles in the draft, best right tackle on the market. Need a tight end. We got a tight end. You got Landry and Beckham, you got Chubb, you got Hunt. There are never going to be this many pieces around Baker Mayfield to be successful. And the year he had last year was a little bit of a step backward. I mean, it probably wasn't as horrendous as it felt because everybody expected so much from him. But he's got to show progress, particularly in turning the ball over. If he doesn't, I mean, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, those are 2 guys that were number 1 overall picks, as highly thought of as Baker when he came out, whose teams have given up on him.
You have fallen into my trap because Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston are reasons to say that, no, it's not a make or break year for Baker Mayfield, because both those guys got 4 or 5 years to prove it. They didn't get bailed on after 3 years, and they weren't as good as Baker. Marcus Mariota was the starter into year 4. It wasn't until and then into year 5. It wasn't until in year 5 that the Titans went to Ryan Tannehill, and then they gave up on Marcus Mariota. But he got 4+. Jameis Winston got 5 full. He's not there now. He got 5 years in Tampa. So they are not going to give up on Baker after 3 years. And the reason is, yes, good players around him. Year 1, Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley for half the year. Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens for the second half of the year. Year 2, Freddie Kitchens, Todd Monken, who knows what's going on. Year 3, Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt. I think if it doesn't look great, if it feels like a break year, right? Say he doesn't make in year 3. I think you would look and still say, listen, this guy has shown enough flashes. Can we give the man a second year in an offense before we bail on this? Can we give him a second year with Kevin Stefanski before we make our final decision? So it's not at least until year 4 that you would break on this guy. When you draft a quarterback number 1, part of what you get is patience, because you have to. You have to have a certain degree of patience, or what the heck are you doing? And the Browns, when they bailed on Brandon Weeden and Johnny Manziel and Brady Quinn and everybody else, they were never drafted high enough where you had to give yourself that patience. And they probably didn't deserve the patience. This is part of why Baker Mayfield might work. So, yeah, I get it. I don't disagree. Yeah, there's a lot of good players around him. But he's changing his footwork. He's going to lead with his other foot. He's got a new quarterback's coach. We have a pandemic. They haven't practiced. He hasn't worked with anybody. That's a built-in excuse. It's crazy to me that you would get to the end of year 3 and be like, break. Nope, not it. He is not our guy. It's Case Keenum time. That's it. That idea is insane to me. But if you are saying make or break year, that's what a break would be, right? Break means he's not the starter in year 4. And I just don't see a scenario where that happens, even if he throws 10 touchdowns and 40 picks. I think there's still enough built-in things you'd say, one more year before we're at make or break.
Tick, 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 tick. The clock's running on their ability and their window because of all the guys they have to pay. If they can make a determination, if he Jameis Winston's, the season and leads the league in interceptions, even though he throws for, 5,000 yards and doesn't lead them to significant improvement, and he doesn't show improvement, you're darn right they're going to be moving on from him. They're not going to. They don't have the luxury of being patient because time is ticking, as we've alluded to all show long. They have a window. If he is not making progress, they have to identify, is this our franchise guy? I happen to think he will make progress and he will be their franchise guy. But if he goes out and has a year worse than last year, I think they have an awfully tough time rationalizing, this is our franchise quarterback. Awfully tough time. They got to start looking.
Jameis Winston was 3-10 as a starter in year 3. He was the starter in year 4 and the starter in year 5.
And now,
but the issue, but we're not talking about, because the whole point is you don't have to make a decision on whether he's your long-term answer at quarterback after year 3, right? Because you can still wait on the contract at whatever. You can still wait. Year 4 then becomes or make or break year. If it's year 4, I agree. I just don't agree almost on year 3, no matter what. Mitch Trubisky is the argument against it, because Mitch Trubisky broke in year 3, and now Nick Foles is in Chicago, and Mitch Trubisky might not be the starter for the Bears. So, but that was a little extreme, I thought. And I think even though Mitch Trubisky, again, I think they had a 13-win team in year 2 and got to the playoffs and would have gotten farther in the playoffs if they'd made a field goal. That was defense fueled. That was Khalil Mack fueled. I mean, that is a team, I think, that feels like they have everything in place and maybe they don't have a quarterback to get them over the top. I think that would be, if it feels like in year 3, the Browns defense is wrecking everybody and everything else is clicking and Baker singularly is holding them back. I mean, I guess it would have to be, it's so extreme because it's not just about Baker looking like he's not good. It's about like everything else is clicking and Baker's holding you back. And the thing that to the point of you have to take advantage of this window with the young players, the window you're trying to take advantage is the quarterback's window. So actually, if Baker is not the guy, it kind of reopens the window because the whole idea is you want to win with your franchise quarterback before you have to pay your franchise quarterback. And if Baker's not your franchise quarterback, now you're on the franchise quarterback search again. And maybe you think, well, we're going to try to win a Super Bowl with Case Keenum. But you know what? We don't have to pay him all that much. We can spend money on other things. Maybe you think we're going back in the draft. We're going to try a new young quarterback again. And you reopen the window. So it's like if you bail on the guy that you drafted number 1, it almost resets your clock. Because, yes, there's a clock on Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, and Denzel Ward. But Baker is the clock. So if it's a make or break year and you break the clock, when you break your clock days that you want to break, guess what? It stops ticking. So I'm telling you, it is going to continue to tick into year 4 at the very least. I think it would be, I said what, 10 touchdowns and 40 interceptions? Okay. If that's what it is, it's probably broken. That's extreme. I think it would have to be so extreme. I think it would be so extreme, and there's enough built-in excuses. And again, COVID-19 is the extra thing. No OTAs, however the preseason or preseason games and preseason practice may or may not be affected. If the season itself is affected, holy moly, wouldn't you just automatically say, no matter what, we're bringing Baker Mayfield back for year 4?
Now the thing is, Baker Mayfield's your point guard. What if your point guard is passing to J.R. Smith instead of LeBron? That's a tick, tick, tick. He needs to be in sync, or you go back to, hey, we're picking in the top 10 in the draft again. Boy, isn't this fun?
I just think they have run through quarterbacks so quickly here. And as much as so many people have begged for patience by the Cleveland Browns, begged for patience with GMs, begged for patience with coaches, I think you also beg for patience with quarterback. And as hard as that is to do, again, this guy flashed it enough as a rookie. He really did. He really did. It's not like he's never shown anything. I think it would be jumping the gun to an extreme amount, especially in the first year. Listen, people are really in on Kevin Stefanski, and I'm not going to not be in on Kevin Stefanski. But let's just remember, almost every coach says they were better in year 2 than in year 1, right? Kyle Shanahan, won 10 or 11 games in his first 2 years. It still takes time sometimes, even when you have a lot of things in place. And as excited as I think people should be, I'm not going to tell people to not be excited for the Browns. I also think you have to understand with the first year head coach and a new offense in these trying times, it might not look perfect. And I just think if it doesn't look perfect, you got to run it back as much as you can, pretty much the same in year 4. Listen, your left tackle is a rookie who hasn't ever played left tackle, right? I mean, it's as you can. We love listing all the wonderful things about the Browns. They gave Austin Hooper a gazillion dollars. Baker Mayfield's like never thrown him a pass. They haven't ever run an actual play together so far because everything's screwed up. There's just enough things in place that there are going to be excuses there if it doesn't look great, which means no break.
Well, I disagree, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think Baker Mayfield has a pretty good year, and the Browns do as well.